The novel begins on the 3rd of May, with Jonathan travelling by train across Europe to visit a mysterious Count Dracula at his castle in northern Transylvania to finalise his purchase of a series of properties around London. Situated within the modern country of Romania, it is the largest of the country's 3 provinces. Even today, people are surprised to learn that Transylvania is a very real place and not some mythical realm that exists only in horror films. Similarly, since its creation, Dracula has become so iconic, the line between fact and fiction has become blurred, with people expecting it to be a land of death and superstition. In Stoker's day, the region was actually a part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire and only became a part of Romania in 1918 under the terms of the Treaty of Versailles. This explains why Stoker uses the German spellings of the place names and why, during the first few pages of the novel, Jonathan uses German rather than Romanian to communicate with the locals. Stoker locates Dracula's homeland very precisely. It was carefully selected, as he knew it was a region rarely even heard of, let alone visited by tourists, adding to the sense of mystery and foreboding for the reader.
I find the district named by the Count in the extreme east of the country, just on the borders of 3 states, Transylvania, Moldavia and Bukovina, in the midst of the Carpathian Mountains, one of the wildest and least known portions of Europe. I read that every known superstition is gathered into the horseshoe of the Carpathians, as if it were the centre of some sort of imaginative whirlpool.
Harker's first diary entry was written in Bistritz, one of the major cities in Transylvania. Located in the north of the province, Bistrita, to give it its Romanian name, is now a modern European city. Stoker chose it because it would have been the obvious place for Jonathan to leave the train and make his way to Castle Dracula, some 30 miles away at the head of the Borgo Pass. Like most Transylvanian cities, Bistritz Old Town cannot hide its Saxon connections. With buildings dating back to the 18th century, it would have looked pretty much the same in the 1890s as it does today.
It was on the dark side of twilight when we got to Bistritz, which is a very interesting old place. Being practically on the frontier, for the Borgo Pass leads from it into Bukovina, Count Dracula has directed me to go to the Golden Crown Hotel, which I found to my great delight to be thoroughly old-fashioned, for of course I wanted to see all I could of the ways of the country.
At the time of the novel, the Golden Crown Hotel where Harker spends the night was fictitious, but it's now possible to stay at the Coroana de Aua, which has been specially built for the connection to the novel. Opened in 1974, the hotel is clearly a modern construction. Sadly, it is not the thoroughly old-fashioned building at which Jonathan arrives, but this is just another example of where fact and fiction have become one. While staying at the hotel in the novel, Jonathan eats the local speciality, robber steak, washed down with some golden Mediac wine. Consisting of grilled meats and vegetables roasted on skewers over a charcoal fire, this dish is also available at the real Golden Crown in the Dracula-themed restaurant named after Jonathan Harker. The following afternoon, Jonathan takes the seat on the public coach reserved for him by Count Dracula and begins his journey up to the Borgo Pass. The road he would have taken links Bistritz to Vatradone in neighbouring Bukovina and is the main pass through the eastern Carpathians, a region known as the Bargau Mountains. To use its Romanian name, the Castle Dracula climbs to an altitude of 1,200 metres to reveal the valley below. Even today, the road from Bistritz through the Borgo Pass is still the main route which links this part of Romania with Moldavia. Today, it's a modern highway, and although it isn't quite the jagged and forbidding mountain pass Stoker describes in the novel, his description of the area is still surprisingly accurate.
Beyond the green swelling hills of the Mittelland rose mighty slopes of forest up to the lofty steeps of the Carpathians themselves. Right and left of us they towered, with the afternoon sun falling full upon them, and bringing out all the glorious colours of this beautiful range. Deep blue and purple in the shadows of the peaks, green and brown where grass and rock mingled, and an endless perspective of jagged rock and pointed crags, till these themselves were lost in the distance, where the snowy peaks rose grandly.
Today it takes around 45 minutes by car to retrace Jonathan's journey. In the book, it takes roughly 9 hours to travel the 50 kilometres, and it's close to midnight when his coach arrives to meet Dracula's own, despite the driver pushing on at full speed to avoid having to be close to the castle after dark. At the meeting point, Jonathan is nearly abandoned by the terrified coach driver, but almost as soon as he arrives, he is met by Dracula's mysterious carriage, which takes him on a deliberately long and complex drive through the forest, amid eerie blue flames and the distant howling of wolves through the trees. Some considerable time later, during the early hours of the 5th of May, Jonathan finally reaches Castle Dracula. There are many theories as to the inspiration behind the Count's mountaintop home, but the truth of the matter is that even though Transylvania, and indeed Romania as a whole, has many castles, no such structure existed near the Borgo Pass in the late 19th century. Not one to let facts spoil a good story, in 1983 the Romanian government built one. Like the Coroana da Aur Hotel, the castle isn't genuine. It claims to be built in the medieval style, and although parts seem to be authentic, it still cannot fully disguise its 1980s construction. While guests may not be sleeping in Dracula's actual castle, they are sleeping in the very place it would have been had it been real. The views from the windows are the very views that Jonathan would have seen, and the smells and the eerie silence of the mountains are all very genuine. Outside the castle there is a small private graveyard and a statue to Bram Stoker. To complete the connection, the castle even has a crypt, complete with coffin.